Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And having reviewed the original 5 movies of the Planet of the Apes franchise, and then the 2001 reboot starring Mark Wahlberg, and the Tim Burton one, which much maligned, least favorite of a lot of fans. Now we come to the very much more successful trilogy of Planet of the Apes movies, which came out recently, and starting off with 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And I'm sorry, I seem to have a little bit of a headache. Don't mind me. So this one was directed by Rupert Wyatt, and the reboot of the franchise basically started off with this particular film, starring the great, wonderful Andy Serkis, who is portraying Caesar, the chimp, along with James Franco, Frida Pinto, John Lithgow, Brian Cox, Tom Felton. And I actually did not know who he was because I hadn't watched the movies of Harry Potter movies, by the way. And David Oyelowo. I'm sorry, I think that's how you pronounce his name. So this one changes the origin to make us see how exactly possibly the apes could actually start taking over in the form of a virus. So James Franco plays the scientist for a pharmaceutical company, chemist, William Rodman, who is testing a virus called ALZ112 because, and this is supposed to increase, it's supposed to fix issues like Alzheimer's in patients. His father, played by John Lithgow, is actually suffering from Alzheimer's. He gives it to a chimpanzee, a female chimpanzee called Bright Eyes, who they who poachers basically take from Africa. And she starts showing signs of heightened intelligence. She goes berserk during one of their presentations and attacks people. They had to kill her, and then they realized that she actually was. They didn't know. I'm really surprised how they didn't know she was pregnant. That seems to be a big goof up by the producers of the film, but they didn't know she was pregnant. She delivered a baby in the confinement of the cubicle that she was in, or the cage that she was in. She was trying to protect the baby. Now the heightened intelligence was passed on from her genes, from her into the baby. The baby, who we gave the name Caesar, the name was given as Caesar. He is raised by William and his father, John Lithgow plays Charles Rodman. He also gives the medicine to his father. Charles basically recovers a lot. He gains control of his senses. He's also a little bit smarter than he was. The virus, what would you call that? It's a viral-based drug. It basically seems to be a big success, so he's testing it out. And they raise Caesar to be almost like a son for him. Meanwhile, he's also having a relationship with a veterinary doctor who took care of Caesar, especially during the childhood days, played by Frida Pinto. So she is a little surprised. She's a primatologist named Dr. Caroline Aranha. She didn't get an Indian name, but yeah, well, she's Goan, or I suppose at least Anglo-Indian, which is why she's got a name like Frida Pinto, even though she is from Bombay. So you have a lot of different names, different culture of people within India, of course, by the way. Anyhow, so things get to a head when Caesar attacks a neighbor who already had problems with Caesar because Charles starts losing his abilities that he gained back. He accidentally gets into the car of the neighbor, and the neighbor is a pilot played by David Hewlett, who Stargate fans will definitely know who he is. An amazing actor, but he is in a very small role in this movie. So he pushes Charles. Caesar, seeing this, gets aggressive, gets angry, and he comes out of the house and he attacks the pilot, and he bites him, and so a lot of people see this. He basically is trying to protect Charles, who he treats like a parent, like a grandparent. So he's taken away by animal control, and unfortunately, he spends a lot of time there. He is upset with Will because he is not taken back home. So he kind of rejects him even when he has the opportunity to take him out. He refuses to come with them, and he starts. He has some enemies within the ape community in the animal control place. I don't know what that thing is actually called. Uh, but yeah, basically it's an animal control. Mainly all apes, gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, and he makes a friend Maurice, who is a former circus orangutan who also knows sign language. Caesar knows sign language as well. There's the Rocket, who's the alpha chimpanzee who basically tortures Caesar a little bit, and as well as the chief guard Dodge Landon, played by um, Tom Felton, who, for no reason other than the fact that Caesar is wearing human clothes, starts teasing him, starts rebuking him, basically becomes an antagonizer for him, and Caesar managed to get the upper hand. He beats up the alpha Rocket, and he gives a little bit back to Dodge, and finally he's able to fashion a method of escaping his cage inside the animal center. He goes to he understands, he's very intelligent, so he understands that this viral chemical which is present inside William's apartment, William's house, is responsible for making him this intelligent, and therefore, one second, and therefore he makes his way to the house in the middle of the night, steals the canisters of the virus, and it's in such a format that it can be sprayed as a gaseous form, and he lets it loose on all the apes. The apes start getting more intelligent. They escape. They beat up Dodge Landon. However, Caesar shows his benevolent side because there was another worker at the facility who isn't a bad person. So when some of the apes try to beat him up, Caesar tells them no. He speaks, and he tells them no. He speaks a couple of times in the movie. The apes escape. They go and beat up David Aiello because he is the person who has sanctioned a lot of experiments on a lot of the apes, including Koba, the rather ugly-looking test subject, a bonobo. Sorry, he's not a chimpanzee. He's a bonobo named Koba, and basically, he takes revenge on David Aiello's character by killing him. The pilot, played by David Hewlett, starts falling sick because of the virus that got sprayed onto him by Charles, and he starts showing signs of an infection. And all the apes, meanwhile, now shows all this, who are showing much more silent. There's a big attack. They attack cars and buses on the San Francisco Bridge. I think it's called the Golden Gate Bridge. And there's a lot of standoff happening between the humans and them, and then a lot of people get killed after the police blockade. Yeah, it is the Golden Gate Bridge. And finally, they escape into the nearby Redwood Forest. This is an area where Caesar was very happy with, because it reminds him of the freedom that chimpanzees, it's inbuilt into him because he is a chimp. So he wants to take all the other animals there. They all go wanting some freedom, wanting a new life, and they leave to the Redwood Forest, leaving the city behind. As they all go there, Will finally reaches up and he tells Caesar that because of all the damage that has happened, if the apes remain there in the Redwood Forest, the humans, the police will come, the army will come to hunt them down and all that. And Caesar basically says, let them, and he says, Caesar is home. He basically talks to them. Will is surprised that he is intelligent enough to start speaking, and he realizes that this is where Caesar wants to be. They say their goodbyes, and the humans go back. He and they got married. Frida Pinto's character, and the apes finally go settle in, despite the fact that there are news reporters and police hunting the apes down in the towards the edge of the redwood forest. Meanwhile, we actually get to see what happens, because the virus is actually fatal to humans. Not maybe it will not kill everybody, but it will be fatal for a lot of humans. And Hunziker, who's the pilot, played by David Hewlett, he infected. Since he's an airport pilot, he leaves. He manages to infect a lot of people, and you see the spread of the worldwide viral plague becoming a deadly pandemic. So this is basically how the intelligent apes will start taking over, and the humans become outnumbered, and are basically on an endangered species list. So that basically is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's a brilliant film. I think they did a really excellent job of establishing how possibly apes could take over. There are a few flaws, like one of the main ones that I mentioned. There are a couple of others. But overall, it's a really remarkable film. A worthy successor, worthy reboot to the Planet of the Apes franchise, which I love. It's a beloved franchise. I think a lot of science fiction fans love this franchise, and this is how you do a reboot. You respect the material, but you create something of your own that kind of seems plausible as well, and make a good movie rather than trying to be a little too smart. J.J. Abrams, I hope you're listening. Anyway, what will I give this film? I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's a must-watch for people who like basically science fiction movies and things that sort of start off the apocalypse, human apocalypse rather. Yeah, there are 2 sequels to this which I will rewatch. I've watched both of them at least a couple of times. I will rewatch them again because keep things fresh in my mind before I do a review. But yeah, this is definitely a really fantastic franchise. So yeah, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, 8.5 for me. Thank you. Good night.